Welcome to the Inspire Spark podcast, where we dive deep into the lives of extraordinary individuals who are making a difference and inspiring others through their stories. I'm your host, Siren, and today I am happy to have Angjolie here with us to share with us her unique journey. So Angjolie is a certified funeral director and the only certified funeral celebrant in Singapore. Her profession is truly remarkable, and today we have the opportunity to learn more about her journey. So Angjolie has founded her own company, the Life Celebrant, which specializes in customizing funerals to commemorate the departed's life. Her outstanding work has gained recognition, including the Women Entrepreneurs Award 2019 and the Spirit of Enterprise Award in 2019. She has also been featured in various magazines, radio shows, and TV programs such as Business Times, Channel U, and Channel 8. So I'm very happy to have Angjolie here with us on this podcast. Okay, so hi Angjolie.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi. Thanks, Siren. Thank you for having me to your podcast.
It's our pleasure. Your unique profession is truly inspiring. So I'm very curious, what drew you to this field of funeral directing, and how has your perception of death changed since you began your career?
I think that's the long story that is probably very long, but the shorter version is in 2014, my dad unfortunately passed away. So then I had to step into the funeral industry to help my mom. So initially, it's really out of filial piety that I stepped in to help my mother. But it was much later where I discovered my passion in helping people with this final journey, because I feel that if we can prepare a very good farewell, we can actually leave a very beautiful legacy for our survivors, those people we leave behind. So yeah, definitely the work that I've done has impacted me quite a fair bit in terms of the view of life that I have, the relationships I have. I guess nowadays a lot of things does, I'm fast about things, like probably in the past, I would be a bit more, I would beg grudges, when I was secondary school, I would think a lot about, why did this person do this to me, and etc. But lately, I think ever since I've been in the industry, ever since I've encountered some of the stories, or even some of the funerals I've taken care of, I sort of see life a little bit different, that it's a fleeting moment. We are only on earth for temporary, right? We are not going to be here permanently. So the law of impermanence, and I reckon that's also something that made me think about living life to the fullest, because frankly, we don't know when is our expiration date. We know that day will come, we just don't know when it comes. So living life to the fullest, and my slogan has always been live with no regrets and leave with no regrets. So definitely has changed my perception about how I live my life as well.
Thank you for sharing. Sorry to hear about your dad's passing away, but really, your story really highlights the profound impact, right, that death can have on shaping our lives and perspectives. I'm interested to know, right, based on your experience, what are some common misconceptions or fears people have about death, and how do you address them in your role?
I get so many. I mean, my people will always say that, hey, I don't want to talk about death, because if I talk about death today, I will die tomorrow. I said, wow, so lucky. Then maybe I could talk about till 40, get a lottery, win a total, and then maybe I'll win tomorrow. I say, if that is so easy, then our life will be so predictable, but unfortunately it's not, right? So there are some myths, I guess there are always related to, people also ask me, is it really taboo, to do this or that? Or I even have people asking me, do you ever get invited to a wedding? So there are things that I try to avoid, not weddings, but things as in when I have to attend a funeral, and if I'm invited to a birthday or wedding, I always make sure before I head over to a happy occasion, I will home and shower and cleanse myself. I always wear colors. I very rarely wear black for any happy occasions. So it's just out of respect and also
Yes.
out of my practice. And there are also something that I've recently just discussed with my friend to visit people who are not well in a hospital. So as I was growing up, my dad was in the industry for many years, and he often tell us not to visit people when they are hospitalized. And I guess it's because there's this myth or people's perception that funeral directors, you should not visit, because if you visit, you are like we are like the Grim Reaper. Are you trying to get the business before the person passed away? So, so all these are things that I hear, and then there are also people commonly ask me, hey, so you're in this line, so you must see the souls or see the ghosts, right? So I get so many yeah. So sometimes you just have to address them one by one,
Wow, okay. Wow, that's your insights are really thought-provoking. It's interesting how, right, despite the inevitability of death, fear and misconceptions still surround this subject.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess death is always a very difficult topic to talk about. And people want to know a lot, but they just don't want to know it if it happened to them. But they are happy to hear, or like recently, quite a lot of people have been racing about the topic about Titans. How these people who spend so much money, they go down to Titans. Would you have done that? Oh yeah, I mean, there's so many, right? And then there's always people who always say things like, like people who are of certain age and they continue to risk their life and just continue to do what they love, and when they pass away doing what they love, then people say, very common message is always, at least he died doing what he loved. So you hear that so much in our industry.
Exactly.
You hear people talk about this, but I guess it's also allowing, during COVID has opened up this topic, and then now more people are more receptive to talk about death and talk about funeral, unlike in the past.
Like what you mentioned, right? Leave without regrets, right? At least you tried.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you don't want to end up having regrets, and then I think commonly most people's regret are always, oh, I wish I'd done that. I wish I had I wish I'd said this to this person. Or I wish I had forgiven this person. I think the last thing very commonly what I see at funeral is things that when you want to apologize to the loved one and they can never respond after that. So I've seen family members who hug their loved ones and saying sorry to the cold body, I would say, and not getting a response back. So that's very heartbreaking when you see that. And then you also start to ask yourself, like, wow, I mean, I have a chance because I witnessed this. And so I'm very quick to apologize. I'm very quick to say the things I want to say, because I really don't know whether I will live for another day, right? That's why they always say tomorrow, is a gift. Sorry, tomorrow is the future, right? But today is a gift. So it's like presence is so important.
What you mentioned really touched my heart, because over the years, right, I've also come to realize that life is very vulnerable, right? So it's like, it's crucial not to take tomorrow for granted, because you don't know whether you will live tomorrow or whether the person you love will be around tomorrow, right? So one lesson I've learned, right, is never to let grievances linger with older family members overnight, especially because for old folks, you may not have the opportunity to see them again tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen. So I always practice nowadays, right, to make peace immediately and spend as much time as I can and cherish the time while I can with my old folks, like my father, my mother.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes people ask me what do I do or what do I suggest. I strongly suggest anyone who's listening or watching this is that whatever conversation you may have, just put your TV, your camera out. Now that we have we have the convenience of our mobile phone. It's so easy to just, and it's free, right? Digital space. So just record. You never know when you might capture an interesting conversation with your loved ones. So I think I miss that about my dad, because when in 2004 when my dad passed away, we don't have mobile phone. We have those JVC camcorder, and I mean, some of you who are listening, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but back in those days, we have those VHS, right? So, but we don't have a lot of recording of my dad and photos of my dad. So that's something I miss, his voice or just watching him interact with us. So definitely if you have a loved one who is of a certain age, yeah, just take your camera, speak to them, talk to them, ask them about their history. They love to talk about their story, and get them to share. Yeah.
Yes. Well, every time when I talk about this topic, I just feel so much for this topic.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on, right? Angjolie, I'm just curious also, right? The lessons you have learned about life from the perspective of death, right, must be very invaluable. Can you share some impactful lessons that you have learned throughout your work?
I think I have so many. I mean, I have my book Dying to Meet You, and I talk about some of the topics. And I guess there's many funerals that impact me a lot. And I always bring back to one of the funeral that was pretty much the first one that impacted me in how I live my life. I happened to be working in New Zealand. I was doing like a internship where I was working for a funeral home for 10 days. And yeah, so this is the thing about me. When I travel, I like to look for funeral home and work with them, or at least to get to see how they operate in the funeral home. So I have to take care of this old lady in the embalming room. And then later, the funeral director asked me whether I want to attend the funeral service. So in New Zealand, it's a bit different from us, where we have a few days wait. Over in New Zealand, they usually have just like a 1 hour service or 2 hour service in the chapel before they go to the crematorium. So I said, yeah, sure, I would love to, take part of this funeral service for this lady. So I remember it was the end of the service, so 1 hour has ended. And very typically, the family members and the friends, they don't go to the crematorium. They were adjourned after the chapel service to the resting area or the reception area where they will have some refreshment. So everybody was exiting the hall, the chapel, except for this young lady, and she was just sitting there. She didn't move. She waited for everybody to exit. Then she came forward and she asked if we could open up the casket. So we say, okay. She said, oh, this is my grandma. Could you open up the casket for me? So me and the funeral director, we open up the lid, we just put it at the side, and then we stand back at our position. And then she said, do you mind if you just give me a moment of privacy? So we said, sure, and then we went to the side. I remember I was standing at the door that's next to the casket. And then the door was a little bit ajar. So we didn't close the door, we just stand at the side, and there was like CCTV. That was a control room.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the CCTV, I could hear what she was saying. And she was leaning down to the casket, and then she said to the grandmother, I'm sorry, grandma. And she was apologizing to the grandmother. So that was a very big moment for me, because back then, in 2009, I was always quarreling with my mother over the business, over the direction of what I wanted to do. So it was a very difficult relationship where she's always disagreeing with what I do. She doesn't want me to be in this funeral industry, etc. So after this incident, I asked myself, is that really important to hold on to that ego or that pride, right? And I came home, and that was the moment where I told myself, whatever happened or disagreement I have with my mother, I'm always the first to say I'm sorry. I will never hold on to pride or whatsoever. And because that message, after I saw the girl say it, the image that came to my mind was that, what if I had an argument with my mom? And I'm very quick to forget. Usually I will move past that, incident very quickly. But what if I go out, I have already forgotten about that event, and I get knocked down by a car and I die instantly. And she's going to remember the last conversation we had is an argument. Exactly. And she's going to blame herself for the rest of her life. Not my life. I'm already dead, right?
Yes.
But, so I don't want to leave that for her. I think that was something that I strongly believe. So in 2009, after that, this lesson was so big for me that whenever we had a disagreement back then, I would always be the first whether she's right or wrong, most of the time maybe she's not right, but it's okay, it doesn't matter. I think at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that the first to say it. Yeah, and yeah, usually things will be better. And now we have a very good relationship. I will never hold grudges. Even for my daughter who's 3 years old, when she was growing up, once she knew how to speak, yeah, I think it's natural in us that we don't say sorry easily. So I have to teach her to say it. When I say teach her, I have to apologize first. So if I did something wrong, I have to say, oh, I'm so sorry. I will never, because I'm of my position as a mother, then tell her that, oh, I'm right and you're wrong. I say sorry to her. So when I say sorry, I would then share with her. I say, oh, see, mommy say sorry. It's not difficult. And now I'm very glad that she's always very quick to say sorry. Yeah, if she spill your drink or she accidentally hit her friend, she will always say, oh, sorry. She never hold back. And even the teacher says that wow, she always says sorry easily. So yeah, I think this has impacted me, and also people around me. Hope to impact them too.
Yeah, like we mentioned just now, I really I totally agree with you. That's why I also say be the first to say sorry, right, to your older folks at home, because you don't know whether you have a chance, and you don't want to be in that position when the next day, right, you actually regret not saying it because you will not get the chance again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to end up saying it and never get a response, right? And then I think that's always something that bother me a lot when I hear family members say it, and then they're in front of me and they say it, and then your heart sank because they will never get a response. So yeah, hopefully they come to the dream and help them be at peace with that. But yeah, it's always a closure, right? We need to have closure in our life to move on. Yeah.
And therefore also spending quality time with your loved ones, right, especially the older folks, right, becomes very meaningful as well when we recognize the impermanence of life.
Exactly. I think cherishing moments, I always say that it's the moments that really count. So it's not about how long you have with the person, is that, nowadays we have people who are always on their mobile phone when they're eating as a family. And I think it's important to cherish that moment that you have with your child, and instead of over the devices. And then because when they are looking at the devices, they lack the human connection. So when things happen, they also don't know how to react and how to say their feelings or discuss about it. So I think it's important to put the phone down. Some of us actually, we have a game where we put the phone in the middle, and then all of my friends it's like, okay, we put in phone in the middle. The first one who touches the phone is the one who paid the bill. So it's quite a fun way to make sure everybody is present in that moment.
That's a very good point as well, right? Really is about spending quality time, right? It's not that you are there, but then your heart is somewhere else. Your mind is somewhere else.
Yeah. So I think that if you could just discuss with your kid instead of them using the iPad or the iPhone, I think it's important. And also as a parent, you also set the example of, oh, I'm actually very interested in what you're saying and what you're sharing with me. I want to be part of your life, rather than just instructing them to do things. And then I think that lacks a lot of meaning. I mean, with technology now, I know it's unavoidable, but dinner time, meal time, I think it's important to sit together on the same table, no distraction, and everybody is just having a meal.
Yeah, bonding time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Angjolie, I'm curious, right? Recognizing that your profession involves confronting death on a daily basis, right? I can imagine the emotional challenges you will go through, you face. So your resilience is truly inspiring. How do you manage to do that, right? Like to become yourself? What self-care practices do you prioritize to safeguard your well-being?
I think a lot of people don't notice, but I do have my me time. I need my me time. There are times when I'm affected by certain funerals. I love salsa dancing. That's my outlet. I think because salsa dancing is where you enjoy the music, you're dancing, and most of the people who go salsa dancing, they're always in a good mood, right? So they rarely have time to discuss about, oh, how are you having, what are you going through? because there's no time, right? Every time everybody is just dancing. So I find that to be a very good outlet for me. Sports is a good outlet. I I listen to a lot of podcasts as well. So I think that part about giving myself space and allowing myself to go through the experience and also the emotion is important. The beginning of this year, I lost two friends. They're both very young. One is 36 and one is 46. And actually, it hit me quite bad. Yeah, and being a funeral director, yeah, people were like, wow, aren't you, immune to this since you're in this line? But yeah, it doesn't mean that I can't grieve, right? I mean, I grieve also for people who are close to me.
Exactly.
I mean, I always very fearful of having friends. I mean, one of the things I mentioned in my book was that I lost a good friend when I was 11 years old. And that was when I realized I don't want to have a lot of friends because it's very painful when they die. So I start to withdraw. I didn't want to have a lot of friends. So I have a lot of acquaintances, but I don't have many, many close friends because I just don't want to go through the grief. So even though these two friends were not exactly very close, but because I was on the receiving end of seeing their spouse, both of them passed away, one leaving his wife and two kids, and then the other one leaving his wife only. But when I was the receiving end of both of them, how the wife shared with me their grievances, and then I have to hold the space for them. And then as I was holding the space for them, I realized my energy I was really zapped out with. I had very little energy even for myself. And I was very aware of my own energy and my own space. So after I hold the space for them, I have to go and discharge it. I have to discharge it myself. Otherwise, it would not be a good space for my daughter when I interact with her. So I guess that knowing about my own space is important. And I remember in January and February, I didn't really want to I didn't want to go out with people because I just feel like I'm not ready. I just want to hibernate at home. I just need to do my thing and leave. I don't want people to ask me, how are you? Because I would then start crying. So I was like, yeah, just go to happy places. People won't know what I'm going through. So yeah, it took a while. I think only in April when I finally okay, when people ask me, I'm okay. Yeah, but before that, yeah, it was hard. So I think, being in the funeral industry, I think probably one of the myths is that funeral directors are heartless, something. But on the contrary, maybe not me,
You are still human being. You still have
and I'm very sure a lot of funeral directors use this.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So it's great to hear that you do sports and salsa dancing for your well-being, because engaging in physical activities and pursuing hobbies especially can provide a much needed outlet, right, for the emotional demands of your profession.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving on, throughout your career, right, I believe you have gained a remarkable perspective on the nature of life, right, how impermanent it is, right? Drawing from your extensive observations and experiences, what other insights or advice would you like to share with us?
I mean, there are, I guess first of all is how do you want to be remembered, right? So at the end of the day, when you think about it, the day you pass away, I think the concept that I always want people to have is don't think of death as the end. Think of death as your life graduation day. Because we all know that day will come. So we go through education, we learn, we sit for exam, then we graduate O-level, PSLE, O-level, A-level, then university. But the actual life, the school, right, is life of school, where a school of life where you have to go through all the hard knocks, and every one of us are different. There's no 10-year series. Yes, there is a 10-year series, like, okay, you need to start working, get a good job, get married to a good spouse, have children, but that may not be your narrative, may not be your life journey. So I think don't be hung up with what is the 10-year series, but rather create your own series, right? Create your own life and your own
Exactly.
movie and your
Yeah.
own book. And stop comparing, right? And the more you compare, the more like, oh, why am I different? Why am I not married at this age? How come I haven't find someone I should be with?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all are going through things that you don't know. It doesn't mean that getting married is a good thing. You could be going through hell too, and maybe on the Facebook, I mean, on social media, it is so common to see people being happy, but sometimes you don't know what they're going through, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I think it's important to always be very kind with one another. And if you are able to see a funeral, a farewell as your graduation day, then you ask yourself, hey, on this graduation day, are the people crying or are the people happy that you have been in their life? Or are they crying because you're so happy that you have touched their lives and that you have lived an impact that they will continue to. They're sad that you have passed, but the legacy and the lessons you have given them will help them move on with their life. And I mean, you can't at a funeral. Sometimes you hear people who will say all the praises about this person, but is it really him, right? So I think most importantly is what is your story? What do you leave behind on this graduation day? Are everybody standing up and giving you a standing ovation and said, "Wow, you
Yeah.
have made an impact in so many people's life, people who are strangers." Yeah, and I think that's more important rather than focusing on, wow, when I die, I'm so worried about this and that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but we all will go. So I
Mm.
think the more we talk about it, the more you then realize, I only have this much time on earth. And every time I celebrate my birthday, I'm actually 1 year closer to
Yeah.
the adventure day, right?
Exactly.
So my life graduation day. So on my life graduation, how do I want to be remembered? I think that will then set your perspective that, I want to celebrate life. I want to do the things that I always wanted to do. 70-year-old, I have one doctor lawyer doctor, he said to me that, at 70 years old, I went to do bungee jumping. I went to scuba dive. 70, I said, yeah. So because he doesn't want to regret things,
Exactly.
right? So even like people who are 70 plus, they come to me and say, hey, Angjolie, you subscribe my TikTok channel. They are so active. And I was like, wow. I said, I don't have a TikTok channel.
Yeah.
I have a channel, but I don't post anything, but I can follow you, you know. So I guess that's the part where if we can really get individuals to really live life to the fullest, and then graduation day, how would you be remembered? I think that's important.
Thanks for sharing. I really love what you say, right? Think of your life as, end of the life as a graduation day, how you want to be remembered. That's so powerful. Yeah. And after all, it's your own story. Yeah, it's your life, right? It's your own story. Live the way you want it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I was younger, I always compare, right? It's inevitable. Asian parents is quite common. Hey, 你看他, the neighbor is doing this, how come you're not? And then I think up to one point I realized, wow, actually I'm running of my own life story.
Exactly.
I'm not competing with anybody. And then I felt better, and then I was more at peace with myself. I was more grounded. It took me maybe at 30 years old, I realized, hey, I think at 30 years old, I am mature enough to run my own life. Yeah. So it's never too late. My girlfriend got married at 42 after so many failed relationships, and she was still hopeful, and I was still hopeful. And then she got married at 42. So I said, yay, finally I like this guy, not a past me ex boyfriend, but I said, hey, this man I approve. So so she was also telling me like, oh my God, I'm still not married. All the boyfriends I have, not lasted. I said, yeah, but it's okay. It's okay, and I think after
it's okay,
it's okay,
Exactly, don't
you're
compare,
normal. Exactly, you're normal, this is your life. Yeah, so what if at 28, it doesn't matter. I also didn't meet my partner until much later too, right? So everyone has a different journey lah. So best is don't compare. Yeah, you're writing your own story.
That's right. Really powerful advice. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks.
So as you continue to serve families and navigate the changing landscape of funeral services, right? What are your aspirations and or goals for the future, or any specific changes, right, in the industry that you hope to see?
I guess having to normalize the conversation of death is something that I've always been very passionate to talk about,
Mm.
where we can discuss, and help each other in understanding what death and what grief is. And because when I was doing my certificate of funeral directing, there was some message that I remember reading that how many alcoholics and substance abuser is a result of unresolved grief. So if you have grief that's unresolved, sometimes they need an escape, but they don't know how to escape. So maybe they take out vaping, smoking, or they use alcohol to numb the pain that they're going through, because they can't come to terms, because the society deem as, oh, you should not be grieving, you should move on. And I think if there's any phrases I will want to abolish, is this phrase called time will heal all wound. Right? Because in my opinion, when you lose a loved one, no matter how long you take, you will never heal that wound. So time will not heal all wound, right? Because when we talk about our loved ones, even though my father has passed away for 19 years, when I recall his story, it still hits you as fresh as like it was yesterday. So we only learn to move on with it. So I guess what I hope to see change is, let us normalize the conversation about funeral death. When you are able to normalize the conversation, you can have a more productive communication with your loved ones, and then ask them what exactly do they want to do. Legacy planning. Have you done your will? Have you done your LPA, your lasting power of attorney? Have you discussed with your loved one? Should you get sick, how do you want to be cared for? So I guess all this thing, I do envision, and I hope in the future we are able to have a conversation and have this word called "it's okay not to be okay." Right? And then we talk about it, then we can improve mental wellness as a community. Or even have our seniors, our older people, to share about their experiences. They went through quite a lot, so let us have them share with the younger people, and yeah, maybe build our resilience and our understanding, so we can live life a bit more fulfillingly, right? So that's how I envision the change.
It's very interesting that you mentioned about this, the statistics, right? People actually, because of grief, they pick up smoking or drinking. I mean, personally, I've seen that around me as well.
Absolutely. I think that's sometimes we just deny. We don't like, no, because example, like statistically, there are more males who commit suicide than female. And it's because males don't talk about it. They don't talk about the problem because it's a sign of weakness.
Weakness,
if we allow the man to say, hey, it's okay to cry.
Is it?
So then they feel that, oh, can I tell you about what I'm going through? And all you have to do is not to give solution, but just hold the space, right? How I hold the space. Tell me. I understand this must be difficult for you. Just hold the space rather than say things that is, meaningless, like, oh, time will heal all wounds. Don't worry, you'll get over it. These are rubbish. I mean,
let them air, right? Talk about it.
They need to be heard. They just want to let it out. So knowing when to hold the space is important. And I think also knowing that one day you may need them to hold your space. And with that, we can build a stronger community. And I think I'm very grateful that there are more and more awareness about mental wellness, and that you're not alone, and it's okay not to be okay.
Exactly. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, as we approach the end of our conversation, Angjolie, any other final thoughts or comments would you like to share before we conclude today's session?
I think it's just writing your own story, writing your own book. You are the director of your own life movie. So don't compare with other people. Really decide what you want to do. Sometimes it's a bit scary because the journey of self-discovery, of understanding your own journey, can be quite scary because people around you may say, oh, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Because they don't see it, right? They see it from their own lens, their own eyes. But how do you overcome that? I remember when I was going through a lot of the challenges in my life, one of the mantra, I still have that mantra, is one step at a time, one step at a time. And as long as I'm very clear where my goal is, what I want to do in my life, yeah, there are times when I wonder, hey, am I doing the right thing to hire so many ladies in my team? But I said, no, one step at a time, one step at a time. And then we just hire the first girl, the second girl, and then slowly, So I think as the concluding remark is that it's so important to write your own life journey, write your own life story, and don't compare notes like, hey, what have you written? Forget it, because all of us really have different journey. We have different backgrounds.
Exactly.
Our experiences are different. So embrace your own experience. I think then you can write a better movie or even life story about yourself.
Thank you. I really love it when you say you're the director of your own life, right? Your own movie, your life story.
Exactly, man. Yeah. So go along, and then I always say that actually your life is like a blank canvas. Do it anyway. Most importantly, there's only one thing I always say: do it however you want, but most importantly, be accountable for it. You are the only one who is accountable. No one else, not your parents, not your siblings, no one, not your spouse. You are in charge of your own life. So why I say accountable is that when things go wrong, it is you who make the choice, not your mom or your dad, or why didn't you stop me? Why didn't you? No, just say, okay, I make a mistake. People will fall. It's just like my daughter asked me, we had this conversation the other day, and then because I'm learning how to do kite surfing. So I asked, kite surfing is it's a water sports. And I asked her, do you want to go with mommy and daddy to kite surf? And then she said, no. I said, why? She said, because I don't like mommy and daddy to fall. And I asked her, why is it that you don't like mommy and daddy to fall? I said, no, I don't like to fall. So then I explained to her, but remember when you're learning to walk, you fall, and then what do you do? I said, I get up. I said, yeah, exactly. Mommy get up, mommy continue. And then in life, we will always fall. But most important is not the falling, it's the getting up.
Exactly.
You can stay there for a while and embrace the pain, acknowledge the pain, and then learn from the pain. And then most important, the next thing is, okay, let's get up and let's avoid this trap, or let's avoid this. Right? And you continue to move again. So nobody has a perfect score in life. Never once has anyone have a perfect score. So so if you're listening in, there's no such thing as perfect. I think that's another word to remove.
I mean, learn from mistakes, right? Even if you make a mistake, just learn from mistakes and failures, right? And how you prevent from happening again.
Exactly. That's what I always believe in.
Great. Thank you so much, Angjolie, for joining us today and sharing your remarkable journey. It's really very inspiring speaking to you.
Thank you.
I really love your dedication to honoring lives and guiding families through their difficult times. It's really very inspiring. So lastly, also thank you to our listeners for tuning in to this thought-provoking conversation about life and death. I hope you found inspiration and gained new perspectives. So I want to say, right, remember life is precious, vulnerable and unpredictable. Embrace life fully and cherish our loved ones. Really key messages. So till we meet again next time, take care and may your journey be filled with fulfillment and joy. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.